I think that he could be a capable leader. I think it's obvious that there has to be outreach on his part and to heal many of the wounds. There's always wounds in spirited political campaigns, but frankly, I have never seen the personalization of a campaign like this one where...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was John McCain. Your phone calls coming up in just a few minutes at 877 Newsmax as we continue with your phone calls. But first, Mary Matalin, Republican political consultant. Oh, I got to ask her about that. Former advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney and former campaign director for President George W. Bush. Hello, Mary.
Hello, my friend. You want to ask me about that?
Well, yes, because last week you made lots of news saying that you're no longer, if I have it right, you left the Republican Party. So do I still call you Republican political consultant?
I don't know what the hoo-ha's about. I re-registered as a libertarian, and I wasn't trying to make news or a statement, but I said I was never Hillary and always liberty and provisional Trump. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see particularly some names, some thoughts on the Supreme Court, flesh out the economic policy. He's not a Republican, so I'm not for third parties, but I don't know what's the big hoo-ha is other than it's not because of what John McCain said that he's hurt feelings. They deserve to have their feelings hurt, those who are not representing the people who voted for them. But the concern is what Ryan raised, which is what are the principles? We're either a conservative party, which is a common sense outcome-based party. This is not the Democrats, the liberals' extremist demonization of what conservatives are, and he can't win without conservatives. That's all I'm saying.
All right, so I'm going to make sure I heard you right. So you re-registered as a libertarian? Is that what you said? So you were not registered as a Republican to begin with, or you were?
No, I registered as a libertarian. I've always been a libertarian. I thought libertarianism was a sound and solid and eternal element of conservatism.
So you didn't switch? You didn't switch?
I'm a libertarian. I can still vote for Republicans.
Yeah.
Much ado about nothing, but I'm not going to vote just to stop Hillary from getting there. We have to get some... Concession's not the right word, but if he's such a good negotiator, then negotiate this. We want the Supreme Court, and we want some regulatory reform, and we want some idea of how you're not going to make it worse than a third term of Obama.
Well, to me, it's all about the Supreme Court. All about the Supreme Court. And he said he would give 12 names, and I hope he will give 12 names. But do you think Paul Ryan was the right? I know he's the Speaker of the House. I know he's the chairman of the convention. He said he'll step aside from that, possibly if Trump asks him to, and they're meeting Thursday. But was he the right one? I mean, after capitulating and giving Obama everything he wanted on that spending bill, is he the right one to raise the questions about conservatism and Donald Trump, as you alluded to?
Maybe I suffer from knowing all these people too well, and I know Paul Ryan to be a consistent conservative, and he always has been. He's in a tricky situation. I'm not defending it. There are plenty of stout conservatives, Tea Party people in the Congress. So I think he can do better, will do better, and at least he's waving the flag of conservative principles. I thought it was a pretty principled stand, and I don't think he's doing it as some speculated because he wants to white knight into the convention. I'm not saying that. Trump is one fair and square. What I am saying is if he thinks he can win without conservatives, or if we want to say that there's a one-party system and it's the Democrats and the Republican Democrats, then that's what we should know what we're voting on. At some point, somebody's going to win, and believe it or not, most presidents do what they say they're going to do. So wouldn't it be just not novel? Wouldn't it be nice if we knew what he was really going to do except build a wall and make the Mexicans pay for it?
Okay, so you want to know more, and if you know more, and he does come forward and satisfies you, then you could see yourself, I mean, you're not ruling out voting for Donald Trump. I'm
not ruling out, but I'm not ruling in on a whim and on a party loyalty. I'm not a party person or a person. I'm a principled person, and so are you, and so are all the conservatives who have voted in over 1,000 electeds across the country in the last two midterms. Who are they? I'm not out here by myself. That's why I don't get, what's the big deal? Who cares what I think? I'm just saying would I know thousands, millions of my countrymen
We care
think?
what you think, Mary. And I want to ask you one more question. I saw Bill Kristol, who's on my show almost every week, talking about a third-party candidate. He's meeting or met with Romney. He wouldn't answer whether Romney is interested in doing that. Do you think that would be a huge mistake, a third party such as Romney or someone else even?
I think some clarion call for common sense conservatism would be a good idea. I don't see how a third party headed by an old party would do anything other than hand the election to Hillary.
Right.
If they're serious about a third party, then it has to have the same resonance that Perot had, with more gravity than that. But no, I'm not just for any old third party.
Gotcha. Mary, we always care what you think, and we love talking to you, and I thank you very much, my dear. Thank you.
Love you, darling. Ciao, ciao.
All right, ciao, ciao. All right, folks, your calls on what you've heard so far, on Donald Trump's attacks on Hillary, on what Mary Matalin said about, just a third party would hand it to Hillary if it's the wrong third party candidate, how she certainly could vote for Trump. 877 Newsmax, 877-639-7629. You want to weigh in on the segment with Michael Savage and his book about his great dog Teddy. Whatever's on your mind here. And what's going to happen Thursday when Ryan and Trump meet? Let's go to Dennis from Littleton, New Hampshire. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Steve. Thanks. I had to switch gears. I had something lined up to talk to Michael about, but you are just as fine as well.
Okay, what can I do for you?
The demographics have changed so much in the voting bloc of this country. This election is going to come down to the last chance for this country to keep any idea of its conservatism at all. Trump may not be the perfect candidate. He may not play by the conservative playbill. I'm 61 years old. I'm right out of the Constitution. The problem is there's people that 10 years ago will now be able to vote that were 8 years ago that were 10 years old. They've been indoctrinated by the schools, hate the rich, hate success, listen to the liberal media that preaches to them day in, day out in high school and college. Trump comes along. He has the base energized that haven't bothered to vote. They're disgusted with the system. You've got Democrats, the old John F. Kennedy Democrats, that are now going to vote for Trump. This is the only man that has a shot at all to save what we may have left. Because if this guy does not get elected, and this Clinton or Bernie Sanders
It's
get
over.
elected, it is done.
It is.
Now,
It is done, Dennis. Now, Dennis, you're absolutely right. I want to get another call, and I thank you very much. That's the choice. That's the choice. Anybody but Hillary, and it's not going to be Sanders, but anybody but Sanders, or the Supreme Court will destroy this country as we know it, end this country as we know it, for the rest of our lives and most of our children's lives. It will be over. Let's go to Joe from Oregon. Hello, Joe. You're next, sir.
Yeah, well, I agree with Paul Ryan. I just think it's terrible that Donald Trump doesn't want this country to become part of Mexico. So I think that's horrible. And I would say, hey, good riddance to the Bush Republicans like Mary Matalin, George W. Bush, all these Bush Republicans, all the establishment Republicans. They never did anything about the immigration problem except make it worse. Well,
I happen to have liked George W. Bush as a president, as a man. I think he meant well, and he did the best he could. And I think in many cases that was good. That was very good. I think he did a lot of good for this country in all areas. And I think he was a God-fearing, honest, decent man, which is more than you could say for most politicians. The fact that he and his father don't want to participate or vote for Trump or whatever, that's their prerogative. I really don't care one way or another.
Yeah, but they can vote the way they want to, but they go out of their way to completely sabotage and undermine Donald Trump at every turn. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, you can't expect them to like Trump, really, after what he and Jeb Bush went through. Listen, I thank you, Joe. Up next, the daughter of Billy Graham and author of a great new book, The Daniel Prayer, and more of your phone calls. Don't go away.